start the show. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of All Over the Show. And that is the show that I have, that I am a part of. I am the executive producer of a show. Nah, I'm just, it's just my little show. And thank you so much for joining us. I say us, but I mean me. And thank you for all the support. It's really been awesome to see how many people are watching, how many people are enjoying it, and that really just pushes me and motivates me to continue going. And I'm very excited about this episode. We got a few things to get into. We finally have someone who sent in a voice note into the hotline, so some of that is coming up, and then of course we're gonna have obviously just me being myself, being all over the place, all over the show, and that's where the title of the show comes from. Check out episode 1. And what else is gonna happen? Oh, I'm also gonna be interviewing myself. Actually, ChatGPT is gonna be interviewing me. So that's also gonna be something coming up. But before all of that, let's think. I bet you didn't know that I could play the saxophone. And anyways, if you enjoy that, please hit like and subscribe and share and all of those things. Your support means everything. It is the reason why the show is growing. It's the reason why I'm gonna keep going. And obviously the success of the show is really my aim. For all my life, I've always tried to just do my best with everything I do. There's just some stuff I just can't succeed at it, or like not to be negative or anything, but I'm not the best dancer. I'm not the best dancer. No matter how much I've tried, my body just does not move the way it should. And maybe I'll just need like some actual professional dancing lessons, then I can figure that out, because my ability to dance is probably 5% at this point, and maybe it increases a bit to like 20% if I'm a little bit intoxicated. But even then, it's not better, it's just that I'm less uncomfortable with dancing. But I guess maybe that's also just a matter of confidence. If you feel awkward doing something, maybe you just need the confidence to do it, and it'll go a bit better. But anyways, what's going on? I guess we're saying goodbye to summer. This is the goodbye summer episode, and you know what? Summer could not leave sooner, to be honest. I am not a fan of summer at all. I think it's nice to, go swimming, and you get to go to the beach, you get to have your like summer body ready and all of that, but for most people that's just not the case. You think that there is a summer body, but then when you take your shirt off in front of people, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, maybe I'll just put my shirt back on, because it's not the summer body I thought it was. But and it's finally over, and this is just when the Lord has decided, my children, let me put the aircon on a little bit. I know you guys are getting hot. Here we go. Here's some aircon, And I guess when we get to June and July, we're gonna say, oh, it's a bit too much. It's too cold. So that's gonna be a fun one also. Personally, I enjoy the winter a lot more than the summer for several reasons. Number one, it's much nicer to just get warm. You get into your warm bed, or you drink a nice warm cup of coffee or tea or hot chocolate. Imagine drinking hot chocolate in the summer. What animal are you? And you get to put on some scarves and beanies and jackets and all that. And that's gonna be an interesting one as well. You know what I saw the other day? I saw a guy wearing a jacket and a beanie. A jacket and a beanie. And that was Saturday. Saturday, it was so hot. It was like 36 degrees outside. Why are you wearing a beanie, dude? What's going on? Are you okay? Are you getting cold, man? Are you getting cold? Why are you, that's just someone living in a different world, honestly. And if you're one of those people, you better stop that nonsense. Because why? I don't understand it. I don't understand why there are some people who will wear first of all, a beanie. Imagine wearing a beanie and it's like 36 degrees outside. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you trying to, are you trying to sweat? Do you want to overheat? Do you want to get heat stroke? Like, what's going on with you? But then you also get people like who when it's winter, then they'll come around with their shorts. It's always like someone who, maybe looks like they come from a farm. And the guy's wearing boots and he's wearing long socks because it's winter. But why can I see your long socks? Because you're wearing a shorts. That's why. You're wearing a shorts. And why are you wearing a shorts, dude? Like, of meneer, why are you wearing that? That just doesn't make any sense to me, because I feel like, you might be causing yourself some serious problems down the line. I'm sure that, your body being exposed to the elements and how long do you do it? Over the course of how many years are you exposing your body to the cold, and you might sit with some damage. That's why when you get older, you're like, I can't walk, I can't move, because you've damaged yourself. The last thing I want is to actually be an old person who has a fall, experiences a fall, because for old people a fall is catastrophic, man. Your bones are not as dense as they used to be. They're not as strong as they used to be. Your muscles are not as strong as they used to be. Now you fall and then your hip is broken, and one thing needs to happen, and that's that your hip must be replaced. Like that, and that takes you out, man. So I know for me, I want to be one of those, those really good-looking old people. I'm going to be that opa that has like muscles, and that's what I want to be. For those of you that are not from South Africa, a opa is just an old man, directly translated to Afrikaans, which is one of our 11 languages. Opa it means grandfather, but we refer to opa just as someone who's like old, or we say oom, like a uncle, we say meneer, and that means sir, and that's all Afrikaans. Not my first language, not my favorite language either. I prefer to speak English, to be honest. And to be honest, when people speak Afrikaans to me, first of all, how rude of you to assume that I speak your language, first of all. Like, let's just get that straight, Is it a racial profile? You see, okay, now this guy's colored, he must speak Afrikaans. Like, no, dude. Not the case, man. I speak English, and it's always been my first language. Now my father is an Afrikaans guy. And, let's just say that all Afrikaans I've learned from him, has been proper. He's a proper, Afrikaans speaker. However, the amount of foul words, let's say the profanity, that comes from that side of my family is creative. Sometimes you think, okay, now I've heard all the swear words now. But then they say something, I can't repeat those words to you, obviously, but then they say something, you're like, I didn't even know that word existed, and I didn't even know that word was a swear word if I heard it. But then it's a swear word, and it's just amazing, like, how creative, people get. But I feel like there's no more new swear words, everything it's all out there now. And now when it comes to swear words, apparently you're not allowed to use some swear words, And obviously I take issue with that a little bit, because I'm not a fan of censorship, by any scale or metric whatsoever. I think that once you start censoring someone or something or a group, or you put something like that in the law, you are opening the door to a lot more censorship, because now you created a precedent. And now all that it requires is for the next person who maybe has malicious intentions, like you might have good intentions with trying to censor this particular term or usage of this word, but others might come along and they might be a bit more malicious about it, trying to control people's language. And they're going to now use the precedent that you set, to make a word not allowed, to infringe on everybody else's right to freedom of speech. And to be honest, I think freedom of speech is maybe the most important right that we have. That's the most important right we have, because it's the right that we use to express all other rights. And if that's a right that you have that's limited, then it is going to open the door to limiting all other rights. And I'm not being crazy when I say this. This has happened over the course of history forever. As soon as a government decides that certain words are not allowed, it opens the door to even more things that are not allowed to be said, and even the consequences thereof become worse and worse and worse. A prime example is Soviet Russia. During the time of the Soviets, where communism was the form of government that was used, this ridiculous ideology that on paper seems beautiful and wonderful, but in reality, everywhere that's been attempted, it has resulted in the freedoms of many being taken away, and as well as the deaths of so many. I don't know, I think in communist China, during the time that Mao was the leader, I think, I'm not even sure on it, but there has to have been tens of millions of people that were killed during that time, And it's just a thing of like someone complaining that the government is bad, or maybe some people were arrested, that they were arrested for saying, I'm hungry. Because if you say I'm hungry, it means that everything you get from the government is not enough. And it wasn't enough. In every country that it was tried, everything was like from the government, by the government, or rather for the people, by the people, from the people. And it never worked, because now we all going to work together for the good of the whole society. When it comes to financially, or when it comes to resources like food, then it resulted in disaster, starvation, death, the killing of people who spoke out against that government. Whatever's going on in North Korea is the same thing. And who knows what else is going on in there. But the people that leave North Korea they tell the most horrific stories. But anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, summer. We're back on summer. Finally, no more sweating. No more just sitting still and melting. Your body's just secreting sweat, and you're just like, oh, I'm melting. Like that's over. No more discomfort because of I wonder, do I stink? Oh, I don't know. Do I have enough deodorant on? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You don't know. I'll tell you this though, when you take a taxi in the summer, it smells like humanity in there. And we don't like that smell. We don't like that smell. It just smells like person. It just smells like the essence of hard work. I'm talking about sweat. That's what I'm talking about. And when you get in there, your first instinct is like, I need to just get out of here. This needs to be the quickest ride ever, because it smells horrific in here. It's hot. It's stinky. You just don't like it, and it's not your fault. It's not that the people's fault either who maybe smell that way. That's just how bodies work. Sometimes you smell, and that's normal. What I don't think is normal is the amount of people who don't wash themselves every day. Like that's wild. I remember at school, in high school especially, like someone would walk past you, and you just feel like, what was that? You look at that person, you're like, geez, dude, it's 7 a.m. Why do you smell this way? And then people talk about, I don't like showering. I rather shower like once or twice a week. you know. And they look at you like you're crazy because you wash every day. Every morning you wake up and you wash your body. You make sure you are clean. Now you're busy carrying the previous day's dirt on. Come on, man. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're just like the guy that wears the beanie in the summer. Like, what are you doing, man? Are you out of your mind? What else? What else is going on? Well, I guess with summer fading away, people are gonna, I guess, dress more stylishly, more elegantly, and that's something I appreciate as well. People just look a lot more fashionable because they're no longer dressing just to be, just to not feel too much heat, which I understand. You want to wear the least clothes possible. I know for me at home, I barely have a shirt on. Even right now, if I wasn't doing this, my shirt would be completely off right now. But this morning was awesome. Like this morning I woke up, my windows were open, and the feeling of cool air just came in. The Lord just decided, let me put that aircon on. Oof, and it just felt so good. Yeah, so that's summer, man. That's the winter coming on, and I hope it snows. I really do. There hasn't been many times in my life where it has snowed. And I think snow is so fun. Like when you watch movies, when you see what's going on in other parts of the world where people get to do all kinds of stuff on the snow and in the snow, like you wanna experience that as well, so let's hope climate change brings that to us, not to freeze, like not to have like a freeze out or whatever they call it, where it's so cold that the power stops running. We anyways have power that stops running. Shout out load shedding. And it's just this terrible thing that happens. You can imagine, like, you've got your heater on, it's literally snowing outside, it's ice cold, you have your heater on, you're wearing a jersey and a jacket and a beanie and a scarf, and you're at home, which is wild, you're indoors, but it's so cold, and the power goes off. Jeez, you can imagine especially if you're accustomed to, being warm. I know there's a lot of people out there. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I don't want to snow, man. Like, if I just think about the homeless people and people who live in like an informal settlement, like living in like a shack or something, where there isn't any sort of weather insulation. If it's hot, you're baking, and if it's cold, you're freezing. Yeah, I don't want it to snow, actually, because I'm just thinking about those people. Speaking of homeless people, I actually spoke to one. When was it? On Sunday. I spoke to him, earlier this week, on Tuesday, I think. And I was just walking from work to home, and this guy, he just told me a bit about his story, and I didn't ask, because like you, and don't judge me, just like you, I don't want to talk to, a homeless person. Those are the people you avoid. When you see one on the street, you kind of cross the street and walk the other side of the road because you don't want that interaction. But I decided, let me just walk on, man. I don't think there's a reason to fear. Sometimes there's a reason to fear. I think there's a lot of people who have become homeless because they've had a rough set of circumstances, and this guy was one of them. He was definitely someone who had a rough set of circumstances. Life did not look favorably on him, and he just ended up, at the bottom. He's at the absolute bottom of society. And then you also get people who are maybe mentally not well, and that's also people that you see often, and those are the ones that you're kind of like afraid. You're like, oh, I don't know, should I still be around this person? This person might be dangerous, which might be the case, but like, I think, like, when somebody has like a mental breakdown or something, and someone has an episode, whether it's, the really heavy ones like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or what is it, multiple personality disorder, or, any of these really hectic disorders, the ones that have severe consequences if it gets too bad. Why isn't there a patrol when someone's acting out? You can just, some white van pulls up And these guys get out and they're wearing white, jackets, and then they've got this straight jacket and they're trying to say, hey, come here, and then boom, they got you in that thing. Like, I feel like we should have that. I feel like maybe in the past that was the case where they would try and catch you, but then they would take you to go get treatment. They would take you to a hospital where you can get the treatment you need so that you can just have that better life, But anyways, I digress, which is really the theme of every one of these episodes. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I spoke to this guy, and he was just telling me a bit about his background. He said he's from Kimberley. Kimberley is like 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. Not 2.5 hours away. 2 hours away from here, if you keep to the speed limit. And he said that he came to Bloemfontein to work, and he was working for a while, and things went well. But then the company shut down, and they let everybody go, and he decided to stay so that he can find, other opportunities. But I guess he didn't find them, and that's how he ended up on the street. And he says he's just trying to get enough money and then find somebody to take him home again, and he says he's been here, living on the street for like a year. So I guess he just hasn't managed to get enough money to, first of all, survive, and second of all, to, find his way back to Kimberley, So yeah, it's quite a sad thing, and I think down the line, what I want this show to do as well, with your support, is once there's enough subscribers and views of the show, I would love to, be able to set up a charity or work with a charity, just collaborate with them, and then use the viewers of the show like you, and say, if you click on this link, you can donate to this charity, and this charity provides blankets and food and whatever other help that homeless people need, because I see a lot of homeless people, when I used to study at CUT, the Central University of Technology, I would walk to there. It's also not far. It's really like walking distance, 15 minutes away. And you'd also see, like, you kind of pass through a piece of town, like downtown or the CBD. And you also see quite a few homeless people there, and you just wonder, what is this guy's story? What happened? Why is this person here? How did this come to be? And there's just so many, and that's always been something that's kind of affected me, because I have as many complaints as I have about my own life, and obviously I'm trying to reduce that because I don't want to be a complainer. But as many complaints as one might have about one's life, your life is not as bad as that guy's life or that lady's life. It's actually mostly men. I don't think I've ever seen a homeless woman. I don't believe I've ever seen a homeless woman. What's up with that though? Why is it men that become homeless? I'm gonna go do some research on that topic. But wow, it's really. I'm actually struck by this thought now. Why? Well, if you know, let us know in the comments, or send it to the hotline. And the hotline is 072-012-1804. And if you have anything to say, any thought, any question, anything you'd like me to talk about or respond to, please do send me a message on the hotline, and I will definitely respond to you as quick as I can, and then have your message on the show, and then I can respond to it, on the show as well. But anyways, I'd really love to set up a charity, or set up my channel, towards something like that, because if it can help alleviate some issues for somebody else, I think that's important. I don't think that the success of the show should only benefit me, and I think that's true for success in general. Your success should not only benefit you. You should use that to do some good in the world. There's just some people who are down on their luck, and you've been fortunate. So why not use part of your fortune to help others. And I don't think you have to be super wealthy to make that happen. I think that, the little that you can give, the little that you can give, you should give. And I think, yeah, man, even if it, and I think, a lot of people will say, yeah, but, if I give this person money, then they're gonna go buy alcohol or something. Like, why do you care? As long as you give with the intention that this money is gonna help this person, it's not your concern what that person does with that money, I think that's why a lot of people are very close-handed when it comes to giving, especially to the people who stand there by the traffic light and ask you, don't you have a 2 rand for me or 1 rand for me, and then you do have, but then you spend that on cigarettes or on sweets or on parking. Just give it to the guy, man. You might help change that guy's life. So yeah, that's also something that I'm trying to do more often. Just carry around change with the intention of giving it to somebody. That's also what I've started doing ever since I spoke to that guy, because he was asking me for like some money and I didn't have anything on me and I felt so bad. So from now on, I carry coins with me just in case somebody asks, and then I can say, here you go, man. Because life is difficult, and if life is difficult for you and me, that has access to the internet, that has a roof over our heads, that has a comfortable bed to sleep in, fresh clothes to wear, a place to clean yourself up, food in your stomach. If you have that, man, you are definitely in the 10%. You're definitely in the 10% of the world, because there are many people living below that line. 90% of the world is suffering, and I think that's the case. I think I saw a thing that said that 10% of the people in the world possess 90% of the world's wealth. And that is a wild statistic. That means that we all, it's really up to us to help bring change. Anyways, I think it's time for ChatGPT to interview me. So it's given some questions here, a combination of good questions, deep questions, funny questions. Okay, so I think I'll just dive into it. Good question. Can you tell me about your background and what led you to where you are today? Okay, sorry. It's AI, so I want to make an AI voice. Can you tell me what your background and what led you to where you are today? I didn't read that properly. But anyways, can you tell me about your background and what led you to where you are today? Oh, my background. It's a bit of that is a good question, actually. Man, I don't know about my background. I guess, this show represents very much a part of who I am. I've always been somebody that's been all over the show. That's always been the case, ADHD is something that I've dealt with, all my life. And, if you don't know what ADHD is, or if you can't imagine having ADHD, and maybe my ADHD is out there, you know who you are. If you guys know what it's like, maybe you can put it in the comments as well. But how I imagine it to be is, this is how it works in my mind. As I imagine standing in a room, and wall to wall, floor to ceiling, on the ceilings, on the floor, are TVs, and all of these TVs are different sizes. And there is something interesting happening on every single TV. On every single TV, something awesome is going on. And that's what it's like to have ADHD. Because where do you focus? You're like, you're all over the place. Now you want this person to sit still in class. You want this person to sit there and focus. How can I focus? When not only the external environment is distracting enough, but the internal environment is just as distracting. So I don't know, maybe my ADHD is different than others, but and by the way, I'm not one of those fools who just think they have ADHD just because they lack discipline. I'm talking about like actually being diagnosed, and I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I used to take treatment for it, but not anymore because that treatment just, takes the color out of the world. But I'm still answering the question, sorry, it's all over the place, and that's just the show. And I guess, I think having ADHD means that you're always going to have so many different interests where your mind is so open, maybe too open, because everything interests you except, schoolwork, except having to sit still, that's boring. But I've just been this person who's always wanted to try everything, try new things, always be on the edge of discovery, always be on the edge of even self-discovery. And you have passions that wax and wane, you have interests that wax and wane, but I think I've always been drawn to music. Music has always been something that I've been drawn to, and that led me to learning an instrument, having that desire to learn an instrument when I was 8 years old, and this is something that my mother told me, and I didn't even know that this was the case. When I was 8 years old, let's say 7 or 8, I was grade 2, apparently I signed myself up for piano lessons. Not my mom, not my dad, I signed myself up. And I always thought that my mom signed me up, just looking back, I don't remember this, it's a long time ago. And she said, I never signed you up for piano lessons, you signed yourself up. And I was like, what? That's insane. So just because, when you at primary school, you go to a class and there's music, there's a lady there who plays the piano and she's making all of you sing, and I was just like, wow, I wasn't singing, obviously. I was focused on that cool instrument there. And I was like, I'd like to learn to play, I guess. And that happened. I learned to play. And then I picked up a different instrument, a recorder. And then I picked up the clarinet, and then I picked up the organ. Then I learned the violin and the double bass and the bass guitar that you see here. And, if you keep watching, at some point you're going to see me play all these things. Because just like in the intro, where you saw me play the saxophone, you're going to see me play all these other ones as well. And that just highlights my personality, is that I still play all these things. It's not like I dropped one and continued with the other. No, I still play all these things. I still practice on them. And that's just me, man. That's just me. And even my interests when it comes to music, philosophy, psychology, economics, finances, business, history, some symbolism, and what else? That's all these books here. Even fiction, like deep fiction, poetry, non-fiction stuff that highlight topics of psychology and self-improvement. And there's even a book on project management. Like that's just how far and wide my interests go. And that is what led me to do this. Because for many people that I speak to, I know that I can be a bit overwhelming. I know I can be a bit too much. I know I can be a bit exhausting. And I guess I decided that I really want the sort of platform where I'd be able to just speak out and speak everything that's on my mind without any feedback, because sometimes that feedback kind of curbs everything. It kind of limits everything that you can discuss and talk about. And I guess this gives me that freedom. There's no feedback. There's no immediate feedback, because sometimes when you speak to people, the expression changes. This topic bores them, then you see, okay. Or this topic bothers them, it's like, okay, maybe I stop talking. But this is much better, because I can just freely talk and discuss whatever I want, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, and now I'm doing it. So the next question. I'm gonna try and keep these answers a bit short, because there are 12 questions. And we're halfway through the episode. Anyways, the next one, it says, What are the values or principles that guide your life? And how do they influence your decisions? Whoa! So that's a bit of a deep one, huh? What are the values or principles that guide your life? So this question has two parts. You know, it has only been in my adult life where I've actually thought about these things, and something that's always been fascinating to me was just people who have principles, people who live their lives based on certain values, and we all live our lives based on values. So it just depends on what those values are. And I guess for me, the biggest one is honesty, and that's been something that I've been trying to maintain in all of my adult life. In the beginning of my adult life, I was very anxious, I was very depressed, Obviously there were tough circumstances, but there was also the struggle to cope with life in general. And one of the things that I discovered was just that, there's a lot of lies you tell yourself. There's a lot of lies you tell yourself. Forget about lying to others. That's already there, right? But if you start with yourself, then you can actually have those tough conversations with yourself. You could say, you are not loving the way you should. You need to improve. You need to do better. And it's only really when you can have an honest conversation with yourself that you have the right to have honest conversations with other people. When you can tell your friend, listen friend, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You are better than this. You can rise above these things. So, and it hurts. The truth hurts. The truth is like a fire, like a veld fire or wildfire, right? Or forest fire, whatever. And all the lies that we pack onto ourselves is the dead wood. And the truth just burns it all away. And the reason why we fear the truth, and we definitely have reason to fear the truth, is just because for some of us, and this was me in the past as well, 90% of who I was that dead wood. So once you go through that painful process of transformation, of redemption, of growth, you become your true self. And that's why they say the truth will set you free. But they also say the truth hurts. And it does. It does both. Both those statements are absolutely fact. And honesty is the gateway to, I believe, to self-improvement. And I just think, as a principle, as a value, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Because that's what's going to inform you of your direction in life. That's going to inform you of what you want. That's going to inform you of what you believe and what you need. Because the lies are it's just a bandage, but there's no treatment for the wound. If you are sitting with a lot of trauma, maybe you are living a life and completely fine with denying the trauma that you've experienced. And the truth is going to come mess all of that up. But you need that process. You need that process of truth to continue. So how that influences my decision, I think that's my main principle in life is truth. Truth, because you need to be able to express yourself, and as a musician, as someone in the creative realm of society, freedom is what creates. Freedom is what creates. And I know that veld fires have a devastating impact, but you know what happens after that fire? New growth. The earth is black, the grass is all burnt, and then it rains, and then it's green, and it's fresh green. So all that dead, dry wood, all the dry leaves, all the rubbish of your life, all the nonsense that you've been telling yourself is burnt away, and then your true self gets to grow out of that. So yeah, man, I never really thought about like what else, like sort of values that I have, but family is a value of mine for sure. I think family is something that I've always recognized the importance of, and sometimes I've taken it for granted. And I'm sure you know what that's like when you take it for granted. Then you realize you've taken family for granted. Our time on this earth is limited. The time that you have with your family members is limited. Your own time on this earth is limited. So just think about that. Just think about how much time left. How much time is left? You know, how old are your parents? How many Christmases do you have left with them? How many birthdays do you have left with them? 20? 30? Less? So it's like, that puts things in perspective for me, is when you look at how much time is left. And if you are not using that time to love them, to give them all the love that you can give, to give them attention, not when they always want it, but especially during the times when they need it, then what are you doing, man? What could be more important than family, you know? So yeah, let's see. Truth, family. What else is a value for me? I don't know if you can call self-improvement a value, but I think self-improvement is something of a passion of mine, and it has helped me to become who I am. And how that influences my decisions when it comes to family, truth, and self-improvement. All I'm thinking of is this going to grow me? Am I going to be able to, if I make this decision, will it bring me closer to my family? Will it improve my life with them? Will it improve my relationship with them? But also, does this facilitate the truth within me? Does it keep me honest? Because if you have to do stuff that you need to lie about, then you need to stop doing them. Because it becomes a slippery slope. You lie about one thing, then there's a groove that forms. Then you lie again. Now that groove is a bit deeper. Then again, and then eventually you have a whole track of things just sliding down into that groove, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and that's a slippery slope. Because then not only are you lying about things that you feel you need to lie about, now you're just lying for fun. Now you're just lying about everything. Now you're just telling people stories that aren't even true. How about that? Is that the person you want to be? You know? And those are questions I ask myself all the time. I want to just be the honest person. I want everybody who knows me to view me the same way. I want your first impression of me to be backed up with every other impression of me. And I think that might be the reason why my friend list has gotten so short, you know, because I think that consistency pushes people away. They're like, you know, it's intimidating, and I can imagine that it is, you know. But anyways, we move on. Next question. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be and why? Okay, that's an interesting one. If I was a superhero. By the way, I'm fascinated with superheroes. Even as a kid, I was always blown away by the idea that people have superpowers, you know. And I always imagined that, you know, throughout my childhood, I've imagined different powers that I've had, you know. But I think the coolest ones I've seen, you know, even in my adult life right now, the superpower that I would love to have there's two. Either teleportation, where I could instantly, in an instant, be anywhere I want to be, right? And that is great because then I can cut out, you know, the commute, the travel time, so I'd be able to get more done, you know, and that's just me being all over the place again. Literally, at this point, I could literally just be wherever I want to be, you know. And then the other one would definitely be being able to multiply myself. Like, that would be a cool thing. Like, I could just sort of split my, and then now there's two of me. And then there's four of me. And you know what I would do? with that. I don't know if I'd save people, to be honest. So maybe that's why I'm not a superhero. I wouldn't. I guess I would save people because with great power comes great responsibility, and that's a Spider-Man quote. I think I would be. Yeah, I would. Instead of joining a band, I would be the band. You know, play on the piano, play on the bass, play on the sax, learn to play the drums. Boom, you have a jazz quartet, son. How about that? How about that for superpower? I think, yeah, that's probably what I would do. You know, just literally a one-man show, but it's also a four-man show or a five-man show. Who knows? You know, make a male choir. There's 20 of me, and I'm the conductor. Like, you know, imagine that. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. Or maybe I could be at work and also be home watching Netflix. So I could, you know, I could be practicing on the piano and also being at the mall at the same time. You know, just multitask, literally multitask. And I think that would be my my superhero name is multitasker or just the tasker. I don't know. That's lame, but okay. Anyways, yeah, so I'd love to be that. And I think the reason why I want to be a superhero, you know, having teleportation powers is just because the thing that frustrates me the most about, especially about being busy, is just how much time it takes to go from one place to the next. You know, having to wait for a taxi or having to get in a car and drive there, you know, that's not for me, you know. And I'm also not a fan of traveling, you know, in all honesty. I think, you know, getting me to sit still, being forced to sit still for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours, for 4 hours, absolutely no. Just no. I don't like that. I want to run around. I want to be able to stand up and move around. I don't like the idea of just being stuck in a seat the whole time, you know. At least I get to do this, you know, I get to speak, and that's a bit helpful for me, you know, to be that way. But anyways, I don't think we're going to get through all these questions, if I'm honest. I really don't think we're going to get through all these questions, but let's move on. What goals and aspirations do you have for the future, both personally and professionally? Personally. Well, I guess I would like to have like a killer physique. You just want to be jacked, you know, but I don't want to be like too big. I think, you know, like as a short man, and I'm not a tall guy. I haven't been gifted vertically, let's say. So I don't wanna pretend about that. But yeah, I think I'd like to just be ripped, because when you're a short guy and you're also like just huge, you know, bulky guy, it looks a bit silly. You know, and maybe there's some guys out there, you know, if you're that person, fine, accept yourself. But for me, I don't want to look like that. You know, I just want to be lean, and I want to be strong. You know, I think that's the main thing. It's not really size per se, but rather just strength. You know, I just want to be a strong guy, because it's healthy and it looks good. You know, mental health is also something that's quite close to me. So I want to be able to just live life without having to struggle mentally, you know, because, you know, you have that sometimes where you wake up and the day is just gray, you know, but the sun is shining, but you're just having a gray day. You're not able to engage positively in the world, you know, and that's just the struggle that, you know, one has mentally on occasion. But yeah, I think I would like to just be free of that. You know, wouldn't that be something? And let's see, what else? What does it say? Professionally. Okay, so I consider this a profession for sure. This is a podcast that I would love to have for a very long time. I want to have thousands of episodes, you know. People that I look up to, you know, someone like Joe Rogan. He started his podcast many years ago, and he still has it going today. And he gets to speak to some of the most interesting people in the world. He gets to speak to comedians, and I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, you know. So I would love to speak to comedians. He gets to speak to academics. I would love to speak to academics, actors, musicians. There's just so many different kinds of people that I would love to speak to, you know. Even people in different professions, like, there's so many, because there's so many things that fascinate me and interest me. I'd love to speak to a doctor, speak to a lawyer, speak to a nurse, speak to a teacher, speak to an architect, speak to a project manager, speak to a lifeguard, speak to a fireman, speak to a pilot, speak to a soldier. Come on, man. There's just so many interesting things or interesting people that I would love to engage with. So a big goal for me for this show is eventually to be able to be able to do that, to be able to have the following that qualifies the interest of these certain people to want to be a part of the show. So that's definitely what I would love to do, and also just as a musician, I just want to be the best musician I can be. I'd love to one day be able to put out an album of jazz music, some of my own compositions, or I'd love to conduct a symphony orchestra one day. I'd love to, I'd love to be part of a jazz band, maybe a jazz band that goes on tour. Maybe it can be my own band. That would be cool, but that's all over the place. I don't know if one can be all those things, but I'm gonna try. You best believe I'm gonna try, because I think if you try, it can become possible. It can become possible. Okay, we move on. What is something you've learned recently that has significantly changed your perspective on life? What have I learned recently? Well, I guess a big thing for me has been the idea of material wealth. It's something that's always been a aspiration of mine. But as you can see in my aspirations or goals, it's very low on the list, I would say. I do think that I would like to live in a comfortable lifestyle. One that has a lot of financial rewards. But I don't want to value money over true value. I think that money just helps you get by. Money pays for things. But you can be a rich, miserable person, and you can be a poor, miserable person. But you can also be a rich, happy person and a poor, happy person. So that just shows you that money is not going to make you happy. You need to have that happiness within yourself, And I think that's just my perspective on that has just been that your attachment to things might be causing you unhappiness. You might be too attached to one person, and that might make you unhappy, And I guess, this is also just in light of my mother's recent passing. She passed in November, end of November, last year. So that's, tomorrow will be officially 3 months, 4 months that she's passed. Wait, December, January, February, 3 months. And, it makes you realize that you are going to be okay, but you're always going to be 50%. Your 100% happiness is only 50%, because the pain of loss is going to be there. You're going to miss that person. Every happy thing you encounter is going to be joined by that missing feeling, that longing to be with that person again, to see that person again, and knowing that you'll never see that person again. Maybe when the Lord returns, then you see that person. But and I guess a realization for me has just been that you will be unhappy no matter how happy you are, and you just have to accept that. But you can't allow that to affect how you live life. It's definitely changed my perspective. It's grief is a process, but even once you've gotten through the process of grief, you will never forget your loved one. You will never stop missing them. That gap in your heart is always going to be there, and there's nothing and no one that can fill it. So, and that's okay. So I guess it also just means that you have to accept that there's going to be darkness. Wherever there's light, there will be darkness, and that's life. All right, let's see what's next. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? That's a tough one, because if you choose something that's so super delicious but it's really bad for you, then you're gonna have, a rough life. Like, imagine if you just wanted pizza all the time. Oh my word. Oh, but pizza sounds delicious right now. I'm getting hungry. I need to end the show soon. But I guess for me it would be lasagna. No. Lasagna is too much. It's too rich. There's too much. There's too many ingredients in there that will contribute to poor health, I think. Even though lasagna is like one of my absolute favorite foods. Lasagna and pizza. Ooh, and pasta. Oh my word. But actually, my number one is steak. I love steak. I think steak is just amazing. And a lot of research suggests that, steak is good for you. Not good for everybody, that's for sure. But people who have had like a all meat diet, some people, not everybody. For some people, being a vegan is the best thing for you. For some people, only eating meat is the best thing for you. And I guess you just have to figure out what's good for you. But one thing is for sure, carbohydrates are not good for you. Carbohydrates are not good for you because according to the research, people who have cut out carbs and only eat meat and greens, meaning meat and and veggies, they have experienced, effects that they've never experienced before. One of them is, when you wake up and you feel groggy in the morning, that goes away. People who have had allergies their whole lives, it goes away. People who have had serious autoimmune complications that might affect them mentally or physically or whatever, only eating meat takes that all away, So, yeah, if there was one food I could eat, it would be steak. And the reason for that is those reasons, but also I think, it's high in protein, so you need something, with protein and fat, and that reduces your stress, and that's scientifically proven that protein and fat reduce the cortisol levels in your system. When you wake up in the morning, the hormone that wakes you up is cortisol, but it's also the stress hormone. So if you wake up and you have that cortisol, you're going to be a bit high in cortisol, but having to eat something like steak with some fat on it, it's high in protein, it's high in fat, you're gonna reduce your stress. So there's a steak sound. That's what I would love to eat. Okay, I'm not gonna go into all these questions. I actually like the silly questions a bit better. If you could swap lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be and why? John Wick. Because I think it would be fun just to be able to beat everybody up. Not everybody, obviously, just the bad people. But yeah, that would be a fun thing. That would be a fun thing to do. Like, just imagine being John Wick. Oh my word! Or maybe be who's this? Tony Stark. Be Iron Man. Be Iron Man for a day. That would be awesome. I wouldn't even be Iron Man. I would just wanna live life as a billionaire. Imagine what that's like. I think you get to just do whatever you want. And obviously there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. But yeah, man, if you are someone who, enjoys having fun, I'm pretty sure having fun as a rich person or as a billionaire is a whole new level, Let's move on. Let's see what else do we got. Who has been the most influential person in your life and how have they impacted you? Most influential. I would say my parents. My parents have been something wild about my parents. They have never accepted my excuses, and they have never taken over something in my life to help me. And I thank them for that. They have never done this. They've never said, "Oh, okay, come on, help you, my baby." They've never done that. They've always they've always given me the space to figure something out and to overcome it myself. And I think if you're a parent, that's maybe the best thing you could do for your child, is if they are able to do it for themselves, then let them do it. You know? You come to a child and say, oh, well, a child comes to you and say, oh, my car's broken. You know, and it's just maybe the wheel that came off. And then you're like, okay, well, throw it away. You know? Then they're like, I'm not going to throw this thing away. You know, that's the kid's response. I'm not going to throw it away. And they say, okay, why don't you fix it? And then the child tries, pop, and it's put back together, and boom, it works. Now, if you were the person who takes that thing and puts it back together and say, there you go, problem solved, then you haven't taught that child anything. The only thing you've taught that child is that my parent will fix my problems. And I guess my parents have just given me that gift, that they've never stepped in. Whenever, they've only stepped in for things that I absolutely, could not do. But it's so seldom, I think I can just, the fingers on my hand is how many times that they've actually stepped in to help. But they've allowed me to figure things out on my own and to conquer my own challenges in my own way. And for that, I think, I thank them and I appreciate them so much. That is really the two most influential people in my life, because being someone that can rather enable success and character building, that's someone that I want to be. I think helping someone when they don't need your help, you're not actually helping. Even if they think they need your help. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Anyways, let's see. If you were stranded this is the last one. If you were stranded on a desert island, what three things would you want to have? Okay, so I'm assuming firstly that I'm not allowed to ask for things that can get me off the island, I guess. I have to be stranded. So the Bible, that's number one. Definitely number one. I'm gonna definitely need a Bible. I guess some wood, need wood, and Bear Grylls. I think I need to have Bear Grylls because he's gonna help us with everything else, So yeah, I need those two things: the Bible, firewood, and Bear Grylls or Ed Stafford. These survivalists. Those guys are incredible. They've obviously been like British Special Forces and all that stuff. So these guys are tough as a boot, but they can survive. And that just blows my mind. So yeah, I think that's we've kind of made a decent episode of it. I almost forgot. Let's play this voice note. Let's hear it.
Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy Nate.
And that's Nate. He says your boy Nate. I guess that's his name. Your boy Nate. I'm guessing his name is Nathan. Let's see what else. What else, Nathan?
And this is a topic for all over the show.
This is a topic for all over the show. Okay, thank you, Nathan. Let's hear more.
Podcast.
Xavier, that's me.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on the theory of evolution.
You want to hear my thoughts on the theory of evolution?
Like with us being apostolic and all that, I want to hear your view.
Okay, so he's referring to us being new apostolic, and that's just us. That's, him and I are of the same church, and it's the New Apostolic Church. Shout out Max. And he's asking, with us being new apostolic, what is my thought on the theory of evolution?
Your opinion.
What is my opinion?
And how it all ties together with our beliefs.
Okay, how it all ties together with our beliefs. Okay, so the first thing I can say is I can't really speak for the church itself. I'm not the leader of the church or anything like that. But I do think that The theory of evolution is a theory. It's a theory. And I know that the church, or our church specifically, the New Apostolic Church, does not accept the current theory of evolution because it does not account, or doesn't take into account, God's activity or God's influence over things. So the theory of evolution is a purely scientific one that states that these things have just happened over time. Creatures have adapted to the environment over time, over millions of years, and those adaptations are what have changed species, what have taken the same species and sort of split it up so that there are multiple species of that thing. That's why there are so many different butterflies. That's why there are so many different fish. That's why there are so many different mammals and reptiles and birds and insects, and that's just how that has come about. But yeah, it does not explain or doesn't take into account God's activity in there. So I do believe in God. I do believe that God exists. I do believe that God created everything. He created the whole universe. But then on the other hand, I do believe that, we've adapted. We've gotten to where we are as human beings because life has changed and adapted over the course of billions of years. Billions of years of evolution have led us to this. And, there are whole fields of study that deal with this. Evolutionary psychology, which is a very interesting field of study for me. It's one of the most interesting things about in the realm of evolution that I've seen. And even just the evolutionary path of many different creatures. Dinosaurs was something that I was fascinated by as a kid. And knowing that or understanding that dinosaurs were wiped out millions of years ago by a large asteroid, and that pushed life into a different direction where the mammals took over, and eventually the mammals adapted and survived in different conditions in the world, and that eventually prompted the development of primates, and then from primates the further adaptations of the environment have resulted in those primates eventually becoming proto-humans, becoming what is it called, hominids. They're called hominids, and then those hominids have become have eventually evolved into some have died off simply because they could not survive, but those that have adapted have survived, and that has eventually led to human beings on this planet. And if everyone that's alive today, your ancestors have successfully survived, at least survived long enough to reproduce, have adapted to their changing environment to the point where you are the result of all that development. So, I do kind of stand on the theory of evolution. But as I said in the beginning, I think it's the start. It's just a theory. It's a plausible theory. But it's still just a theory. The Big Bang is also just a theory. And we can take things biblically, but the Bible has been a source of metaphorical value, definitely, but also a combination in combination with that is history. Does the Bible explain the origin of the universe? Maybe it doesn't. Does evolution explain everything? Maybe it doesn't. So I don't know. I'm not gonna make any definitive claims. I think that there's a lot that we don't know. In the span of time that life has been around, or that the universe has been around, in that span of time, human beings occupy, if that was in a calendar of 12 months, human beings would occupy only the last 5 minutes. So imagine that it's 5 to midnight 5 minutes to New Year, and that's where human beings have started their development. The past 150 years that human beings have been on this planet. So who knows? There's just a lot that we don't know. There's continuously discoveries being made where entire fields of study have been discredited simply because new information has come to light. Look at the James Webb telescope that has been able to determine that the universe is much older than what we thought it was, much bigger than what we thought it was. So, man, it's a deep question, but I'm not telling anybody what to believe. I think remain skeptical. Don't accept everything as dogma. Don't accept everything as fact. Investigate, question. Don't twist theories. Don't twist facts to suit your theory. Rather, take the facts and twist your theory to suit what the facts are. And that's Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah. That's it. But anyways, I think that's been quite a solid episode. And Nathan just sent it into the hotline, and the hotline is 072-012-1804, and that's 07-2012-1804. And yeah, so what else can I say? Yeah, we're saying goodbye to summer. We just had a very nice interview with ChatGPT. Thanks, ChatGPT. You've been a tremendous help. And I guess in summary, what we can say is that we don't know what we don't know, and I think that's just a conclusion that we can draw to anything. There's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that needs to still be discovered. Also, that we need to be better for each other. We need to be willing to help each other out more. We need to consider that maybe our problems are not as big as we think they are. And what is the last conclusion that we can take? Is that it's a good thing I don't have superpowers, because I probably would not save anybody. But anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful week further, and thank you so much for watching. And see you next week.